talk about. There's always a lot to talk about. Good news, bad news, whatever, man. We're going to talk about what's happening a little bit around the NBA. Not too much, but, obviously, we got a lot to talk about with the Thunder. Yankees falling behind in the series, 0-2. So we won't have too much to say about that. Obviously, we need some wins there if we're going to see a series. Bro, what do you got on your mind right now?
I don't even know, man. I'm just thinking 21 days until we're in the river. Lake Erie got me thinking, man. It's going to be nice, but it's going to be cold. But throwing it out there, if you guys like to fish, Mark and I fish all the time. And our favorite thing we found is we ran into it last year is a steelhead fishing and Lake Erie tributes. Oh, my God. It's amazing. We've been fishing trout since we've been 5 years old, probably 4 years old for Mark, maybe even younger. I think my granddad taught us how to tie a knot, probably a fishing knot, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. I know it's been part of our family, but when Mark found the steelhead that's only a few hours away from him, he's like, yo, you got to try this stuff out. It's pretty amazing. And he's right. There's nothing like catching a steelhead. It's pretty intense, pretty insane. So we've been planning this trip for a year now, coming back down to 21 days until we leave. And it's going to be pretty crazy, man. Definitely excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Hopefully we can get on the fish, do some catching. We'll try to get some video of it, some pictures. Obviously, we like to take some bragging pictures, but last year was our first year really catching any steelhead, so this year will be about trying to document some of that for bragging rights and all that goes with that. We're excited about that, and really, I mean, we're hoping that you guys enjoy, a little bit of what we show from the fishing side, but in the end, like I mentioned earlier, it's just about bragging. We like fishing, but we like showing off what we catch, so we're pumped up about getting a chance to do that, and hopefully you guys stick around and see what we're showing.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. I'm stoked for a lot of reasons, but one of the things is we saw an incredible third quarter from this Thunder team, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
I get excited about different things, about being able to watch different games, and unfortunately for us, Yankees didn't do so well. But I don't know. There's enough to be encouraged about seeing how the Thunder play that I'm pretty excited,
Yeah, dude. And I like it. Why should we be forced to talk about the Yankees right now? Why don't we just talk about what's... Even though the Thunder at this point are 0-1, so I don't know that we're bragging about any elements of this, but there is some good stuff to talk about. And you mentioned that third quarter. And I think that's a great place to start, because if we had just played a third quarter like that, then we would have won by 40, right? If we played the whole game like that. So anyway, let's talk about some of the things that we liked. And as we do, I'm just going to go ahead and play in the background all of our made shots. You can choose to watch this if you're listening to the podcast. You can click on the video version. If not, you can check out the YouTube channel. This is going to be all the team makes. Why not? So here's my question, bro.
Yeah.
As we watch this game back, whoa, hold on. I'm not sharing it yet. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. I wasn't going to say anything. You're good.
We're gonna reset. Thanks, bro, leaving me hanging there. All right, we got to reset, dude. I had already pulled up and already started playing, but I mean, look, we're not going to spend too much time explaining what we're seeing, other than in the end, just anytime we see a pattern of really good stuff, right? That's what we want to talk about. We hope you kind of see the same things we see, even if you just watch the game and you're not watching what we're showing right now. But
still no, you don't have it up.
I'm pulling it up, bro. I'm working. I'm buying. I'm talking slow-mo right now. Buy some time. So
no, dude,
here we go.
I gotta say this is everything's being pulled up here, and you're gonna be showing the offense, and I'm glad you are, because I want to talk about the defense right here for a quick minute.
By the way, I've got blocks and steals pulled up, so we can show all of those if you want to talk about those as.
All right. we'll do offense then. We'll talk about defense later then. All right.
All right, and look, and not only that, okay, I don't want this to seem like, because when you watch all these makes, you're going to come back and be like, well, this team probably should have won by 40, right? Because anytime you're just showing makes, it's like, oh, yeah. So I do want to take some time, bro, and show our turnovers, okay?
Yes.
I think because you can learn a lot about the team when you're watching the turnovers. But when you watch the makes, you learn to say, like, this team, as they put things together, like, they're going to be really good.
Yeah.
And we've been saying that forever, but that's one of those things you definitely learn. And it was a big game for SGA. I felt like out of everybody off the bench, dude, I thought Amarui came in and showed he belongs out there. So crazy to see him do that in one game, right, against some pretty tough competition, go out there and really use his leverage and push people around. And suddenly we're like, hey, we've got another two-way contract that's going to be earning big-time minutes this year. I mean, that's what it feels like, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the way that he's built, it reminds me a lot of Dort. And I like that. We need more players that have that type of energy, that are willing to do whatever it takes, especially if Dort is turning more into a scorer, which he had trouble the other night hitting his threes. I felt like Dort had an amazing game on defense, just couldn't put together on offense. But I looked at Omarari, and I keep on thinking, like, this young man truly is there's something special about him. Like, there's a reason why everybody else got cut and he didn't. I'm excited about him. I'm excited about, Poku, man. Like, I know there's so many haters on Poku.
Yeah, there's a lot of haters about Poku right now.
It really frustrates me because, like, he only had one block, right? But there was 2 or 3 other times that, like, I would consider it a block, or, I guess they considered it a deflection because of the way that he blocked the ball. But he should have had 3 blocks up there. He's just phenomenal. Poku on defense really is interesting out there. He had 3 offensive rebounds, 4 defensive rebounds, 3 assists, 11 points, and he has +5 on the plus-minus. I felt like he did a great job. We're not expecting Poku to go out there and score 15 points every single night. What we're expecting Poku to do is pass the ball well, get rebounds, and hit his shots that he takes. Or I'm sorry, and throw in there blocking people when they come down the lane.
It'd be a plus defender, right? Help out and guard your man. And
like, I
does
don't
those things.
When people are sitting there saying, "Oh, Poku should have done this. He needs to do this." Like, I understand what you all are saying, but that's not what Poku's for this team.
Yeah, dude. We just go ahead. I shouldn't cut you off.
He's different. He's a different type of player, somebody that is not typically in the NBA. So you got to take a step back and let the coaching staff do what they're doing, because he's special, dude. And I'm getting frustrated listening to everybody talk about it.
Yeah, we got to mention a few of the players before they go out of our minds and just give them a quick shout out, because they deserve more than quick shout outs. But we saw big minutes from JRE.
Yeah.
Knocking down big shots, almost doing a one-man run there in the second quarter, it felt like. Right? We saw huge minutes from my mind just went blank, dude. But I saw positive things from Beverley. Who are you saying?
Osman Jang.
Jang played, he was a little timid, right?
I don't mind timid, though.
I don't mind timid. Look, the intensity of the game increased from the preseason, and he's shown each step of the way that he takes a little bit of time to adjust, and then he figures out where he can be impactful. Okay, and we see Poku knocking down a 3. Like, that guy was shooting with confidence, and we needed that. And I think that was a big part of our run in the third quarter, was like everybody just deciding, and that's what we're watching right now, just deciding that they were going to, like, it couldn't go much worse, right? They're just going to play. We've seen this team lose by a lot of points, so I can't say it won't go much worse, but they just decided that they were going to each do their thing. We saw positive things from Dort, shooting wise in that third quarter. Like, he got hot, and it was really refreshing. I would say I was like nervous, right? Anxious watching that game. I wanted this team to fight back. And when we had this run in the third quarter and we took the lead, I was like, we've seen what we wanted. Like, the Timberwolves are a huge favorite. They're supposed to be really impactful this year in the season. And we saw this team fight back. And we saw the unit doing it. It was really unique.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't get their guys off the court, their main guys off the court. And that's what we've been saying about since day one. We want to see teams having put themselves in this position.
Right.
Our offense, we shot 31.1% from threes, 14 for 45. They shot 26% from threes, 10 for 38. This is what we're going to see a lot this year. Our defense is stellar. So in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter is when we're going to jump on teams, because that's when they're going to be tired. They're going to be tired of the shots that we're forcing them to take. They're going to be tired of getting up and down the court that we make them do. So in the third and fourth quarter are going to be our money quarters every single time. And especially this run right here in particular, what we're seeing right here.
That's our most, almost, that's the most we led the game right there. So that was our peak moment.
And look who was out on the court. It's because of the matchups that we have out there.
And look, we didn't mention
that's running together.
J-Dub. That was when my mind went blank. That's who I was thinking of, right? J-Dub, man, I hope he's okay. He looked like he might have got a concussion. Not a doctor, I'm nothing, right? But at least he got a swollen face, eye, bruise at the very minimum.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he got rocked, okay? And then I'm really glad that Coach Degnault challenged that it was bullshit. They should not have called the foul on him. Like, I can't believe they didn't do something. But whatever. I don't really have much to say other than it was bullshit, right? But I wish
it was hard.
I just wish him the best. He got off to a great start. He was a big part of what was working for us when things were going well early. But then as the game went on, bro, like, we kept cutting the lead to 1. They would make it 2. We would cut it to 1. Not 1. I mean, 1 possession, right? Over and over and over again as this game went on. And I just love the fight. We've seen it before. We know what this team is made of. Obviously, we want to close these games. But that's the final step. And I think through repetition, through going through these experiences, that's how you learn how to rely on each other to take that final step. We're close. We're close.
Yeah.
But that's the hardest step.
What we saw the other night, Mark, I felt like the biggest thing that we had a mistake on or a mental lapse on was the free throws. We only
right there with 12 seconds left, bro. With 12 seconds left, it was a 1-possession game, and Gobert almost turned the ball over.
Yeah, he did.
Bro.
He did, absolutely.
And they called timeout right before it, but that was 1-possession game, down by 3, 12 seconds left. We almost get the ball back. Look, that we saw with Chris Paul, those types of things go our way, right? And then it's like, oh, this team can come back from any amount. And here we are. We're on the precipice. We're right there. And people are like, oh, don't expect them. And you know what? We're not going to be favored to win a lot of games, but we're going to win a lot of these close games. Last year, we were losing.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at this and I'm saying Anthony Edwards, he had 11 points. He shot 4 for 17, 1 for 7 on threes, 2 for 4 on free throws. McDaniels had 10 free throws. That's the biggest thing that I look at and I circle, because they hit 9 more free throws than we did the other night. It kind of sucked. I like to see Karl Anthony Towns 2 for 7 on 3-pointers. D'Angelo Russell 2 for 6, 1 for 7 for Edwards again, 0 for 3 McDaniels. This is the type of things that we need to see. It's making every bucket difficult. They did not have an easy job, easy time putting us away. We made it all very difficult. And our defense, it just gets back to what we did on defense. We had a ton of contested shots, which I would almost consider blocked. It altered shots a lot. We had 6 total blocks by the team, 2 from Giddey, 2 from Shea, and 1 from Poku. We had 6 steals, 3 from Shea. What a phenomenal night from Shea. We'll get to his stats in a second. 1 from Dort and 1 from Trey Mann. These guys are just out there hustling, and it makes me excited, man, because when you're looking at team chemistry, it all starts on the defensive end when you're all working together, and it really seems like we're a cohesive unit out there. We played some zone the other night I was really excited about. I love our zone defense. It's really great because when we have Chet in the game, we're not going to be relying on Chet to play against their big guys consistently every single minute of every game, and that's going to be big for Chet.
Absolutely, man. We're going to show some of the blocks, some of the steals from this team, defensive impact we've seen. It's something that we like to highlight because these are effort plays. I wish there was a way for us to show all the times we dove on the ground for loose balls, right? Because I would do that. That would be the first thing I showed every time. I feel like that's the type of stuff that impacts the game. That's why we gave Amarui an early shout out when we're talking about this, is because like you can impact the game. And look, Kenny Hustle's always that guy who gets that. And early on, he was really impacting the game with offensive rebounds. But obviously, he's made it onto the scouting report, right? And they send 2 to 3 bodies at him on an offensive rebound. So what does that say?
This is such a big block right here by Josh.
Big block. Giddy getting back in the fourth, 14 seconds left, and blocking that dunk by McDaniels. So it was amazing.
Unbelievable.
Amazing effort, not giving up on the possession. You can't ask for anything more than that. And, I mean, bro, like, the more I break it down, this effort we've seen by the team on both ends, like, you can't help but say, like, they care as much as they are talented. Now, their experience needs to catch up to them. But there's as much heart as there is talent, and that's a rare combination.
All right. Jalen Williams, let's say he got the full 21 minutes, 23 minutes that he was going to get before he got hurt.
Right. Man.
How many points does he end up with instead of 5 points in 6 minutes? You think he crosses that 15, 18 point mark?
Yeah. And look, he was just getting to this point where he was getting comfortable. His passing was leading people into shots. His shot was like, oh, this is like, it was almost like he expected it to be hard.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. Right. And then it was like, oh, well, if this is how easy it's going to be, then I don't know. Like, and then boom, he takes contact to the face that would rock anybody. So I just feel like we're kind of at this stage where we don't know what's going on. Like, I think he comes back and that's an 18-point game, bro. I'm gonna show some of the steals right now, but like that's the type of shit we think is he's a massive impact in the game. Offensively, defensively, we've talked about the type of impact we think he could make, and he was just like literally breaking a sweat. Barely. I mean, he was playing hard,
man.
But like how much can you sweat in 5 minutes, right? And then boom, it's what we need. You're right. He's the right person at the right time.
I look at this and I see Kenny Hustle out there, and like, look at Kenny Hustle is going to have adjustment playing with that first team because he's used to playing for against second teams. It's going to take him a little time to adjust. And
we're watching offensive rebounds, right? Sorry.
He's a maestro out there doing his thing. And
right. And if he had so much gravity on the offensive rebounds, right? We just watched the sequence there where like offensive rebound for Kenny, offensive rebound for Poku, then Kenny hits a 3. Like, he has so much gravity when it comes to offensive rebounds, right? They're sending 2 to 3 bodies at him. Other guys have to crash the board.
Yep.
And if you look at Kenny's plus minus, I think he was like a minus 16, and that wasn't indicative of him. He went from starting to coming off the bench in the second half. It was more about the lineups, right? And finding a way for him to maximize his impact, and then that didn't reflect well on his plus minus.
Well, and Coach D is taking notes of this stuff, and like he should be, because this is where it needs to be, is that you need to understand the type of player that Kenny plays best against, the type of player Dort plays best against, and so on and so forth. Because if you know, it's going to be easy to isolate those guys in those games. And that means, like, I look at Dort, Shea, Giddey. Okay, this year, those are the 3 guys in my mind that should get 30-plus minutes a game.
Yeah.
Am I right? Is there anybody else that we should be adding there? No. Those 3 guys. All right. So we got Shea, Dort, and Josh. 30 minutes a game. That's it, man. Like, everybody else is about finding the right matchups that they have to go. And really, this is going to be a lot of the right matchups for next year. And I understand what people are saying about Poku. I understand what people are saying about Osman Jang not doing well and Trey Mann not shooting well and all this other stuff. I get it, guys. But this is the first fucking game. Like, this is not the tank mentality that we need to be seeing out there. We need to be enjoying what's happening. Like I said, when we first got on, that third quarter. That's what I'm looking at. That third quarter and that fourth quarter, man, that's the great basketball that we needed to see. It took us a little while to get going in that first quarter, but is that a shock? Shea's been out.
Yeah, dude.
You know, that shouldn't be a shock for anybody. Like,
when I look back at the stats after the game, I was really impressed with what he was able to do, honestly, even though it felt like maybe he started off so slow. But, I mean, did he start off slow? It just felt like it. I don't know if he did or not. It was crazy because Yeah, go ahead.
He could just tell that he was a step behind. And when I say a step behind, is that like when I see Shea out there, typically, right? He's always a step ahead, you know?
Yeah.
And there was a couple times that he drove that people were right with him, and I was like, okay, that that will be gone. That's something that's just there for right now. Like his half a step or a step in front of people is going to come back, and it did in that second half or that second quarter. We can call it the second quarter that he started putting on the Jets, but it takes time. Like Sam Presti said it best is when he found out about the MCL sprain that he had. He said, if this was a normal person, you're talking 4 to 6 weeks, but this isn't a normal person. This is somebody that's a super athlete that, they have a lot more riding on the MCL than normal. So it doesn't surprise me. This is, game speed, and he missed preseason. It's going to take him a couple games to get that game speed. But with that being said, 32 points. You can't, what are you going to do? Dog the guy for not getting 40?
I mean, there's nothing you can say other than he played a great game. And we watched the way he attacked the basket, getting downhill constantly, and then finishing in the mid-range, shooting the ball from deep. That looked like it might be something that he was lacking a bit of confidence in the first quarter. Like he wanted to get into some other action before he shot the ball. But as the game went on, anytime the shot clock was late, he went to that shot very quickly. So I feel like he's got a lot of confidence in that. So I'm impressed with what Shea was able to do. I mean, if anybody misses preseason, that's an enormous amount of time. That's such an important, impactful time for ramping it up. And I feel like it took him one quarter. All right, now he's ready. Here we go. Hopefully, it's one of those things where there's no, he's not sore or anything, right? Because if his knee's sore, then I bet they're waiting a game. So I'm thinking he's ready to go, and we're ready to go, man. We got another game coming up, and that's pumping me up.
Let's talk about offensive rebounds last night because, one of the things that, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I love offensive rebounds. It's something I see that I love the hustle play, right? Mm-hmm. We had one guy that played double-digit minutes last night or the other night that did not get an offensive rebound. That was Trey Mann. He got 23 minutes, no offensive rebound. Everyone else that played double-digit minutes had more. Omar Ari had 3. J.R.E. had 1. Baisley had 1. Giddey had 1. Shea had 2. Dort had 3. Kenny Hustle had 2. And Poku had 3. All these are big hustle plays. It's something that you're seeing the team do together. Last year we saw Kenny Hustle have the 2 and 3 stats of offensive rebounds, and a lot of other people would have 1 or 2 here, I'm looking at our offensive rebounds and how important it is for us to be doing this, and we had 16 last night. Put in perspective is Minnesota Timberwolves, which in all perspectives should be amazing at offensive rebounds, right? They had 14. Gobert had 7 of those 14. That's a hell of a job of our guys doing this offensive rebound, because the reality is that if we average double-digit offensive rebounds a game, the NBA is going to be like, what the fuck's wrong with us? We should be all doing this. Crashing the boards on the offensive glass needs to be happening. And it's really impressive, man.
How many offensive rebounds did Amarui have?
He had 3, man. Him, Dort, and Poku all had 3 offensive rebounds.
But the way he's a lot like Kenny in the way that if you don't block him out with 2 people, so sometimes he's going to take 2 bodies, and that the ball's going to go to the open spot because of that. Teams need to be prepared for him. And Kenny's definitely on the scouting report. I was listening to the Timberwolves announcers, and they were talking about it. This is the guy that you got to put a body on.
Oh yeah,
and sometimes 2. So they get it. He's kind of like a great defensive player in football who, if they can put pressure on the quarterback, right? But he kind of treats getting to the basket as the ball is being rebounded and having nobody between you and the basketball as the equivalent of getting free to the quarterback. He's always timing it. He's always trying to get downhill and put himself in that spot. And you see them, they're like, where the hell is Kenny? Where the hell is Kenny? Because if they don't box him out, then he's going to find a way to get the ball. I've seen a lot of players who have a knack for being in the right spot at the right time, but he's one of the best.
Yeah, he is. And even though they put 2 bodies on him most of the night, he still got 2 offensive rebounds. So it just shows you with Kenny is he just knows where to be at the right time. And a lot of times that doesn't mean it doesn't matter how many bodies are on you. if you're at the right spot, the right time, that's the key. And this goes back to, I know what Kenny Hustle does. You know, like I did the same thing when I was in high school, and I taught the same thing to as many people as I've ever coached, is you sit and you watch your shooters in practice. You know, you watch your shooters. You just watch them. Because, you know, everybody talks about shots being a habit, right? Well, your release, the second you release it, most of the time you know exactly where it's going. Just by watching it, you know exactly where it's going. Okay, going right, going left, going long, going short. All right? Kenny does the same thing. He watches them, and he watches their release. So all he has to do is watch the release and run to the spot that he knows where it's going. And that's the great thing about it, is that if you watch the way that Kenny Hustle watches the release, and a lot of other guys take that extra half second to try to figure out where to go, and Kenny's running to that spot. You know, and how many times have we seen an air ball and Kenny just is standing right there where the air ball is at? You know, like, because he gets it. He understands the release, and that's what's so important. And that's what he's teaching these other guys, because you don't have 16 offensive rebounds if you're just not teaching offensive rebound. You know? And by the way, guys, that is not a vibrator you're hearing in the background. That is my Rode. They are tarring it, and that's what you're hearing. So I am not using a vibrator at this moment. So sorry for the noises, though.
I appreciate you clarifying that.
It's really embarrassing because my whole monitor is shaking, and it's like, there's no way people don't hear that.
Well, I am happy to know, but I'm gonna stick with the vibrator thing, because that theme seems to be one that works, man. One that works. So we play Minnesota coming back. Not next game. We play the Nuggets tomorrow night, but we play Minnesota the very next game after that, I believe. Last time I looked anyway. Here we go, dude. What do you think we need to do better to beat them?
Well, I mean, I think the way that we played defense out there was superb. And if we play that same type of defense, we'll win this next time, because we won't have a lackadaisical first quarter. We'll be more ready to go. I mean, really, all we needed to do is score 21 points in that first quarter, and a completely different, ball game would have happened. That we would have been up by 3 in the last possession. So, and I think that's where it comes down. How much can we
take from the third quarter to say, like,
it was the matchups, man. Listen, right. Coach Dagnott got the ideas that he got, and was able to use in the third quarter and fourth quarter the matchups to really cause issues. I mean, it was. Think about it. When you call a timeout, right, and you go and then you score a bucket, right? You're like, okay, that was nice play, coach. Nice play, right? Typically, it's coach play that's been drawn up. In this situation, you come out after a timeout or a halftime, right?
Mm-hmm. And
you come out and go on a run like this right here, right after halftime. It was Coach D getting with assistants and saying, these matchups are working. Let's hit these points. Now, they'll know exactly which matchups to go to next time. And that's why I think they don't come out and only score 15 points in the first quarter. I think it's going to be a different ball game. And I think that's why the Nuggets are probably concerned right now, is because they just saw this really, good Oklahoma City team, and they kind of look like crap. Like any team that's going to be playing against us in the next week and a half is going to be, concerned. You got Clippers twice, you got Mavericks, and you got Nuggets and Timberwolves. Like these teams are like, shit, man, we don't want to play against a team like this early on in the season.
No, they don't want to do that. But in the end, we gotta earn their respect. Like, we proved that we were gritty, that we would put on comebacks last year, but we got to prove that we can win some of these games. And there was a lack of shot making down the stretch that was concerning. And
sure.
I wonder how much of that is going to stick. Like, I think it's a trust issue in a way of, like, how do we find how does the ball find the right person at the right time? And there can be like, hey, I was open, I got to shoot the ball, which is true. But there's also, like, we're in the last 2 minutes, right? The offense gets a little tighter, things change. We need people to shoot the ball with confidence, but the ball needs to go through our stars. But we want to avoid being in the spot where, we've been as Thunder fans in the past where we're like overly analyzing single possessions or like a series of possessions and saying like, okay, the star wasn't getting the ball enough, and that's why we lost the game. Like, there's a lot of reasons we were behind in this game. And it would have been great to see SGA throw the team on his back, score 40, lead us to a win, and, that's fine. But in the end, like, as much as he was fatigued, or maybe not fatigued, but like slow starting, I assume that at the end of the game, like, you also start seeing the effects of not being there for the preseason, right? Like, those are the two times you'd anticipate it. If you said he had a game like 32, you'd have to find, like, some point there was a little bit of fatigue that set in. So that's something where I'm not worried about. We're not going to get worried about it, even if things aren't working out for us and people keep going, well, it's because SGA is not taking all the shots in the stretch. We're going to be like, that's not a realistic thing, right?
Sure.
We need to avoid falling into that trap. That's just, like, sometimes that's how defenses, run things. That's how our offense runs. Like, think about, like, the Rocket series with Dort, right? A lot of people are just like, oh, he should stop shooting. He should stop shooting. But through shooting, through confidence, we have a different player now. So everybody's going to have to go through that series of growth. And that even counts the tough down the stretch shots.
Yeah, and the last 5 minutes is crucial for this, and that's why you saw Mike Muscala out there. You saw a different, what I call a different lineup than we saw all rest of the game. And that's where J-Dub is going to be so crucial to have, is because he's another shot creator, not another shot knocker downer.
Yeah, I like you.
Anyways,
knocker downer.
He is one of those guys that in the fourth quarter, in the last 5 minutes, we're going to see him on the court. And that's where I feel like this team could have done a little bit better in the last 5 minutes. The matchups got to where they felt that they had the better matchups, and that's cool. Like, I get it. But there was a couple times that I felt like we were that close from turning the script, and
right.
just the bounce, or the offensive rebound, or whatever it was in that last 5 minutes that would happen. It just didn't go our way, and it was that close, and we would have had a different scenario. So I always laugh when people are like, refs can't control the game, and yeah, they can. It comes down to 3 or 4 minutes, or 3 or 4 possessions. Most games come down to 3 or 4 possessions, because if you look at last night, you pick 3 or 4 possessions that were key for the Timberwolves, and you take those away, and Oklahoma City wins by 5. You take 3 or 4 possessions away from Oklahoma City against the Timberwolves the other night, and we lose by 20. And I think that's the key that you have to recognize, is that these are the coin flip possessions that the Oklahoma City Thunder need to figure out, and what lineup is going to work for them best. And that just takes time. It takes time for Coach D, it takes time for Coach Gibbs and all these other guys to figure out what the right lineup is in that last 5 minutes. And in the years past, that's been Mike Muscala, Shea, Dort, so on and so forth. And I'm all for Mike Muscala, sitting out and playing the last 5 minutes, because that last 5 minutes is difficult for any center to play. And if you have one that's completely fresh, that's going to hit down that three when he's open, then yes, you got to put him out there. So I feel like so far this team is doing well in the first game that they played, but I saw a ton of improvement lines that they needed to make, and that's just part of a young team. But the hustle, man, that's what everybody's going to be talking about. Is this might be the most hustle you've ever had in one team.
Yeah, I think as far as coaching, right, I think maybe there can be something learned from there. And
sure,
what I mean, a little bit, like, if you think about it, like, a lot of situations in sports come down to, like, a team goes on a good run and they were playing freely, and then they go into a situation where they become like they're trying to play not to lose.
Sure.
And when you play not to lose, a lot of times you lose, like, that free play. And in situations where I was coaching, sometimes you'd be up, like, oh, there's a minute and a half left, we're up by 6, right?
Sure.
Pull the ball out, there's no shot clock, we're going to spread the court, right? And then the other team would apply an appropriate type of pressure, right? They'd get a couple of turnovers, and I'd look back and I'd be like, that's where I could have done better as a coach. Because when we were in our offensive set where we were looking to attack downhill versus, okay, now we need to slow it down, we have the lead. And I think that's kind of like an opportunity to learn, is like, this team, when we win, we should win kind of like running away with it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, of course, we need to win the close games, right? And we need to steal some. But this team is so talented that when we go out there and we shoot 45% from three, we should blow teams out. And they should be completely like, well, we have them submit midway through the fourth quarter because we're just that hot and we're just making shots. So I feel like that's going to be a little bit of where we have to figure out how to like ride the hot hand, like keep doing those things that are working. Yeah, we want to get the other players back in and they're going to get into the rotation, but build that lead 10, 12, 14 points, get that crowd, with, in the Target Center booing again, right? They were booing. Did you hear them booing, bro?
I know. It's so embarrassing.
I mean, that's what you need. Like, then everybody starts turning on them. So I feel like there was a sense of almost like we got the lead and it was like, I don't know, like when you're playing poker or something and you look in front of you and you've got like $10,000 and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to have that much money. And then all of a sudden it falls away.
Are we just that spoiled as Oklahoma City Thunder fans when a team, like we lose the lead, we don't start booing? I mean, you might hear one or two boos, but as a whole,
I hope we're not going to play that game, dude. That's
I know, because it was just, especially after they just made it to the playoffs. Now everybody's expecting them like, oh, we have these crazy expectations of what the Wolves are going to do, and if they can't even beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, we're going to boo them. Come on,
it was a great run. The team got outplayed, and you know what? Nobody's talking about it, but you know who the Wolves were missing? Patrick Beverley. They were missing somebody out there that was like, I am going to be the most intense player on the court, and you guys can follow me. They didn't have that. It was like, oh yeah, now they got Rudy Gobert. Dude, could you imagine Rudy Gobert and Patrick Beverley on the same team?
Oh my God.
Like Beverley would be harassing people into the Stifle Tower, and they just didn't have that ball pressure. They were expecting that to come from Ant and from Russell. And come on, they're in trouble. They don't know it yet. They have a great team on paper. I get it. Like, oh, Russell's a former All-Star. Ant is an All-Star. You've got all this, but what they're lacking is heart, and they gave it away with Beverley, and they didn't need to.
Yeah, well, Beverley wanted to go, but I think if they had just stuck with him and told him, hey, man, come on, we'll give you a pay raise.
Yeah, like how much do you think they would need to pay him for him to feel like he's going to go out there and fight every night for them? It wouldn't be much.
No, it wouldn't. But I think that's the thing, though, is that, like, Patrick Beverley deserves to have a 4-year, 60 or 80, even $80 million contract. Like, that's what he deserves because he brings that much. I mean, he brings that much to the fight. He does, but it's the 4. When you say 4 years, you say 1 year, 20, fine. You say what happens in the year 3 and 4 at his age, you get kind of worried about it. But I still say 4 years, like even, 12 to $15 million is acceptable. Not only acceptable, but what Patrick Beverley deserves, because what he's going to think about this. He has Russell Westbrook on his team, right?
Yeah.
And he has every right to be upset and angry and all this other stuff. But what is he doing? He's calming Russ down. He's creating an atmosphere in that locker room. Like he's a maestro at what he does.
Let's just not talk about Russ right now because I feel like at this stage, it's just like, all right, look.
So bad.
We love him with all of our heart. And we just want to there's always a parts of players' careers. I think a lot of people who have loved Russ, like he was the first player they fell in love with, right? Where they're wearing a jersey that you want to forget. It always happens. At the end of somebody's career, you're like, I can't believe. For us, it was Patrick Ewing in a Seattle Supersonics uniform. I saw one where it was somebody posted the other day, Ewing was in a Magic uniform, I think, and yeah. Olajuwon was in a Raptors uniform.
Yeah.
I grew up loving John Starks in the Knicks uniform.
Cross over to the NFL. You have Joe Montana, in the Chiefs uniform.
But here's the thing. Well, he was successful with the Chiefs, right? In the end,
he got to that, Super Bowl.
Right. So in the end, my point is it's the time where the players are really, really bad. That it's just they're not going to even show those clips on the retirement ceremony. Like Sean Kemp with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like go down that list, and what we're seeing with Russ is
Shaq with the Cavs.
Right. Like, here's what happens, right? These players sign these massive contracts, and they've got to finalize, like, they've got to earn the rest of their contract out, and somebody's got to pay them. And it's a game of hot potato with that bad contract. Yep. Well, fortunately, we got the benefit of the bad contract. We paid him while he was good. We traded him while there was value. And now, unfortunately, we're all sitting there, like, horrified, like, oh, this is so terrible. And it is terrible. But we're the ones who did it.
Yeah.
That 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, whatever it is he's making, like, that's why this is happening. Like, and as bad as it hurts to watch Russ do this, we have to look at it like this. We have to be like, we have to learn from history, right? We have to be human in this way and say, this is how every great goes out, with the exception of, like, if you go like biblical, like the 3 people who never died and they were risen into heaven, right? Like that's the only, like, there's, how many times are you talking about there being a Bill Russell?
Yeah, you're right, man.
Right? How many Derek Jeters are there?
Yeah.
Right? Like going out on top while, all this stuff and only wearing one uniform like Kobe, like, get out of here. Like, it happens for some, but sometimes when it doesn't happen like that, we just have to say, like, we have the good memories in our heads. And anytime you feel like you can't handle the negativity, go watch the mask games, when he was hurt, when playing for the Thunder. Go watch him when he was young and he was playing for the USA team with KD and Steph and Harden and Kevin Love. And go watch those games and enjoy what he was like at his great times. That's why he earned the money right now that makes it impossible to trade him. That's why he's earning $40 million. Go watch the streaks of triple doubles, but understand that this is just a part of sports. And I don't care how much you love Giannis or whoever, it's probably going to end up like that with everybody.
I mean, like, if you keep Jokic long enough,
Yeah.
If you keep
bodies start breaking down. What worked for you before doesn't work for you now.
Well, and that's why, again, I applaud Sam Presti, because, it wasn't that Sam Presti traded Westbrook and Westbrook went to shit. Like, he had some productive years with Houston and a productive year with Washington, where he was the assist leader in the entire NBA with Washington. So it's not like he's been shit. He just happened to get this last couple of years with Los Angeles where his contract is so big. And even though, like, people are like, oh, Russ sucks, whatever. Listen, man, his defense is top of the line. Is he playing a $47 million contract worthy? Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're one of the few greatest players of all time. You get to have that salary. Now,
I mean, look at all the greats like Pippen, Barkley. Yeah. These guys, they didn't play at their prime at the end of their fucking career. That's where they were making all the money, though, is when they were a household name.
And this goes back to the Lakers trading all those players for Russ. Like, first of all, is they should have been a better decision on this. No.
No, you know why? Because this is what happens when you are a poorly run organization.
It's true.
So, I mean, yeah, like, theoretically, you're right.
Russ and LeBron, though, like, if you looked at them, even on paper, they didn't match. And then all of a sudden they get together and they're like, yes, they sort of match. No, they don't. Yes, they do. No, they don't. Like, and that's the thing, is that's what's so frustrating, is watching this unfold. It's like, if they had got together early in their careers, this would have been worked out. But now they're full-grown men, families, both living in Los Angeles, like, and they both are two of the greatest 75 players of all time. So of course there's going to be butting heads, and there's going to be like this and that and whatever. I feel bad for Russ. He doesn't deserve this. As a Thunder fan, as an Oklahoma fan, he does not deserve this.
He doesn't, and we owe it to him to think of his best times and recognize that contract was signed when he was in the Thunder uniform. So we shouldn't be sitting there feeling too bad about it when we got off scot-free. All right, so
we got like 4 first rounds for him.
Better than scot-free.
A ton of other guys.
Right? Oh my god, dude! But so you sent me something that I think we should talk about. I don't have anything pulled up about it, but Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah.
Klay Thompson gets gets honest on a podcast. It looks like Matt Barnes was there, and
Yeah, a bunch of people.
somebody else. I forget.
Steve Smith.
Yeah, Steve
Yep.
Smith. I don't think it's Steve Smith. I think it's Anyway, who cares? All I'm gonna do is disagree with you and not give you
All right.
any follow up. So that's really stupid. But he,
No, it's
he
the
used to
best.
play for the Spurs. I know Jackson. I think it's Steven Jackson.
Steven Jackson. Okay, it could be. Yeah, it's Steven.
Is
Jackson.
Steven
You're right.
Jackson even a real person? I don't think so. My mind is a little bit blank right now. Who knows? But here's the thing, right?
It doesn't matter.
He's
We're
there
good.
at a podcast, right? We got caught up with the useless details. But he's there at a podcast and he's talking about getting pulled over with a bag of weed in his car. And
Yeah.
it cracked me up, bro, because it was
Best.
like when he's talking about being in the back of the cop car and being like, my parents are going to be so disappointed. It was like, I don't know when this was, but I'm pretty sure he's a professional at this point. He's going to his own house and he's sitting there thinking about his parents while he's in
No,
the back
he was
of a
going
car.
home to his house, parents' house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in the he was in the driveway. Pulled
was
up
he
to
in
his parents'
college?
house in the driveway. He says, and I quote, "I had the sack with me, and I was going inside to play Guitar Hero,"
Yeah.
which, I mean, I immediately relate to. I mean, immediately relate to.
This
Like,
is what I
how
wanna
many
do with my
times
life.
have I had a sack in my
So it was his
pocket going to
parents'
play
house,
Guitar
dude?
Hero?
It was his parents' house?
Yeah, I think this is like his senior year in high school.
Oh, my gosh, dude. Crazy.
Yeah, dude. Isn't it make the story so much better? Like understanding, like people are fucking human. Now he didn't get arrested because he says to the cop, "Are you really going to fuck my career up for a small sack of weed?" And the police
Which is
officer
funny.
said,
Because he gets away with it, right? And that's why the whole story is funny, right? But how many
That's it.
people don't get away with it? You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? And what if this
That's
was something
ridiculous.
that made it so, like, where did Klay even go to college? Like,
"I should know this."
Wyoming? I don't know, dude. Here's my point. Like, a recruit at his level couldn't afford that level of baggage because he wasn't like the most pristine recruit coming out of college, right? And that's where, I mean, going to college. So that's why I kind of like
Yeah,
wonder,
Washington
like,
State University.
there we go, Wyoming, Washington, whatever. I was
Yeah,
close.
we're
enough,
close
right?
enough.
So, right. So he was a Cougar, I think, right? So he is up there because
Well, his
you know-
dad's like, obviously playing the NBA too. So
right. But
that
my
helps.
point is, like, the baggage of a arrest for weed would be enough to derail a career, even if your dad was in the NBA. At least to go to a place like that, and he might end up
Sure.
having to go D2. Maybe he would have made
True.
it. We've seen players, go D3 and make it if they can shoot the ball. So I'm not saying he wouldn't have ended up there, but yeah, dude, like when you think about like how stupid it is that we live in a country that still penalizes people and it could derail a career for something that is obviously like everybody just sit around and laugh about it now.
Oh yeah.
But out of 100, how many people get away with it? One. And it just happens to be Klay Thompson. And maybe it's 0.1. Maybe it's 1 out of 1,000 who end up having like, oh, he's a recognizable name, and so we're gonna let him get away with this one. I don't know. I don't mean to get all serious with social justice talk, but I'm glad.
No, but it needs to be talked about because, like, obviously we're in a place where, people are always talking about how much things are getting better, but the reality is it's not. And, I'm glad for Klay. Maybe it cost him a couple extra years in college hoops, but he did end up getting drafted, the 11th pick in the whatever draft. It doesn't fucking matter. Anyways, but I look at Klay and I see this young man and it's like, okay, this is why throwing young men in jail for having a sack of weed should never have happened in the first place, because
You should throw him in jail for Rock Band.
yeah. Throw him in jail for doing
Rock
stupid
Band.
shit.
Weed's fine.
Guitar Hero.
All right, my bad, dude. Whatever.
Rock Band though too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I look at it like there needs to be a forgiveness on that aspect, because if you're throwing these kids away the second they have a sack of weed in their pocket, life's over. What are they going to live for? If Klay Thompson was thrown in a jail and had a rap sheet, does he ever make the NBA roster?
Right.
We've
seen
and
that
that's the
derail
thing we're
people.
talking
Right.
is like, this is why there needs to be change.
And we talked about it the other day.
Bylaws.
Amani Bates gets caught with a gun, gets off with it because he's Amani Bates. But like, how many of these stories do we not hear where people don't get away with it? And it's like it's almost like people getting away with it and getting out of the situation that 9 times out of 10, affect people. Then they're like, oh, it's a Cinderella story. It's a miracle story. It's like, no, if that's happening because the system's fucking broken. We all need to fucking just go ahead and shit on it together so that we can agree that it needs to be fixed. And we should not be being arrested for it.
Speaking of a non-broken system,
all right, let's hear
James Bouknight's DWI arrest.
So Bouknight, bro.
Tell me about this, because I've heard a little bit of pieces, but what you have on here is a little bit different than I've heard. So is this like facts, or is this like...
No, it's TMZ,
like flat
bro.
facts.
TMZ. So
TMZ, okay.
Take it with a grain of salt. Or a gallon of salt. So here's the deal with Bouknight. Apparently I don't know. I'm gonna say he hit 2 cop cars when he was drunk. But it sounds like they kind of parked him in, and then they woke him up, and then he was like, I'm not opening the door. And he's like in a Mercedes, so he went drive, and then he hit a car, and then he hit reverse, and he hit a car. But they happen to be cop cars, so that makes the headline true. And on top of that, apparently he had a gun in his lap whenever they were waking him up.
Dude, was that the picture that people were throwing around Twitter, that there was a photo of somebody sleeping with a gun in his car?
Yeah, it must be. So here's the thing about Bouknight. Bouknight, to me, was the guy I really wanted. Like, I wanted Giddey, right? But it was like, if Giddey's not there, or if we go into the, situation where, like, say we end up with, like, the 11th pick. We didn't know that year, right? And I was like, okay, Bouknight, he's special. He's special. He's got, something. All right, so there. I said it. Like, I wanted this guy really bad. He's had nothing but trouble. I don't even know of a positive thing he's done in the NBA, but there was an issue with him last year as a rookie. I don't remember exactly. It's just like...
DUI, I think.
Yeah. It's rough. I mean, and you want to see someone like him be successful. I'm still cheering for him. But at this point, like, you kind of create, like, a situation where you're going up such a great, like, hill that it's like, maybe the NBA isn't the easiest place for you. Maybe you need to go to Europe for a few years. And that sucks to think about, because he was such a talented player. What?
Learn to be a man.
Yeah.
Shaq said it best, man. He's like, I've seen him talk about other players. It's like comes a time in your life. He's like, every boy has to grow up to be a man. Sometimes it takes longer for some kids. And he said it quite openly, though. He's like, it took me a little bit longer. But that's really what needs to happen with some of these guys. And that's why going to certain organizations don't help these kids out. I mean, James Bouknight going to the Hornets, that doesn't help anybody out. I hate saying it, but there's just bad organizations for young guys going to, and that's one of them. Like, if I was a father, Oklahoma City would obviously be a place I would want my kids to go to. Memphis would be a place, San Antonio. I mean, there's great organizations and great coaches and great people in all these organizations. I mean, the Clippers organization is a great one too. Like, I would want my kids to go to these places and have coaches and mentors that would help them to become professional athletes and professional human beings. Because right now, there's a massive disconnect with some of the guys that are going to be coming into the league in a couple of years, and guys that are already in the league. We saw it with Gilbert Arenas when he brought the weapon in to the stadium way back when. So
I think about every time I hear Gilbert Arenas, I think about that 2 Chainz line where he's like, Gilbert Arenas, you can suck my penis. I don't know. It's 2 Chainz he got in my head, bro.
Anyway, but like, those are we need to take those examples and be able to say, okay, guys with guns in the NBA, why are you guys doing this? Like, there should be no guns in the NBA. Like, Gilbert Arenas the penis should have never brought a loaded weapon into a stadium.
Yeah, I think that's been established at this point.
So why again are we sleeping with a weapon on our lap?
What if that thing went off?
Dude,
you gotta think about that. Like, that's what I always tell people, like, be careful where you point that thing.
Man, I've M16 when I was in the military for the like little blimp I was in the military, right? We had a guy that shot his foot when he was standing up with his M16. And I can tell you this, man, you know, like, fuck, that shit is not cool, man. Like, anybody that carries a weapon in your pants or in your pocket or anything like that, like, you're a fucking moron, first of all. Second of all is that's how people lose penises. And we watched even one guy on this show. We had an episode where we were watching a video of the guy shooting his dick, you know, like, and he was running around talking about shooting his dick. Like, this is like, I get it's probably very much of an American thing that people shoot their dicks off. But I mean, like, it's just ridiculous that we're still in this mood of carrying weapons around in our pants.
In our pants, guys.
In our pants, guys.
Put them in the appropriate places.
Jesus Christ, man. Protect your balls and your scrotum. Your scrotum and whatever.
Especially if you're so fucked up you don't know where you are and you're like running into, like, so many things can go wrong.
Listen, if he had just got out of the car, Bouknight, right, instead of hitting both cars trying to get out of there, he probably would have gotten in a lot less trouble.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
probably a lot less trouble.
But he's probably not going to get in a whole lot of trouble anyway, right? But he sure would have regretted it if he shot his dick off. I'll tell you that right now.
Seriously. There's some scars that just don't leave you.
Be careful where you point your guns, kids. For sure. My God.
Oh, Jesus, man.
But, all right, so I'm sure there was something else I was thinking about, but, I mean, why don't we stick with this shooting the dick off, like, theory, right? Let's say that's how the story ended.
Yeah.
James Bouknight shoots himself in the dick. Like, could he get another job in the NBA, or would he have to go to Europe?
Okay. First of all, would he want... Okay. Would he want another job in the NBA? Would you want another job in the NBA for, like, hey, that's the half penis guy we know?
Would it be worse being married to a Kardashian or shooting your dick off? Like, if you're going to get harassed.
Married to a Kardashian with only half a penis?
There you go. I think that's the real question here.
Let me ask you this. If you only have half a penis, can you at least, like, fold it over or then at least have width? Like, if you're going to lose half of it and, like, it's not going to stay up anymore, can you at least, like, fold it over and then I can have, like, at least a thick dick? Because, like...
No, dude. Stop it. Because...
No? Okay.
No, that's making fun of impairments, bro.
Stop it.
The sideways dick impairment. Everybody knows. It's a real problem in parts of this country. Florida. I'm just kidding. We have friends from Florida. Shout out to Reese. All right, sorry to shit on your state.
No. Florida's a great state. They have
great state.
Stuff out there. It's fun.
Yeah, gators, man. Gators. It's a real problem. So, all right, man, let's talk a little bit more about what we've got coming up. We mentioned it already. We got the Nuggets, right? The Nuggets did not look so great in the opening game. They've got to get some things going. They look lost. All right.
Yeah, they were.
All right. JRE,
like, I put my baby down someplace and I just can't find it. Like, that's how lost they look.
JRE is the type of player that plays really good in this type of matchup, I think.
Well, you called it, man. Last episode, you're like, everybody's flipping out about JRE not playing well in preseason, but he's like, he's professional. He's going to be all right. And he came out there and played really well. So
knocked down shots, right?
Knocked down shots, rebounds, got some stops. I mean, he did a phenomenal job out there.
So, I mean, what else you want? I think he's going to earn more and more minutes. And I think if, I think he kind of steadied the ship, right? Like, there's this tendency to be like, we're going to give minutes to Poku. We're going to give minutes to Beasley. Because why? They're upside. They need more minutes. But when you get guys out there like Amarui, Kenny Hustle, JRE, like, you end up in this spot where you're like, damn, dude. So it's a balance, and that's a tough balancing act to make sure you give yourself the best chance to win. But we've got to recognize that the long run, Poku's a big part of it. And
I just don't, guys, when you watch Poku's game, don't take Poku's game and say, this is the way he should play. Because that's the way he's not playing right now, guys. So the way that Poku's playing is different from everybody's really comprehension right now of what a center should be playing. Like I said it last year, I said Poku should be playing center more. And like we got a lot of people made fun of us for that. But guess what? He's playing center more. Why? Because he fits that mold of that center that we're looking for. Somebody that's going to get offensive rebounds, somebody who's not going to take a lot of shots, somebody who can pass the ball like a wizard. Like this is what Poku does.
So
like,
do you think he starts against the Nuggets, or do you think we come out with JRE starting?
I think I don't think we're going to have a set lineup. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the way that Coach D is going out there, but I don't think this is going to be like one lineup that's going to be set. I think there's going to be a comfortability of lineup where guys are like, hey, we like playing with each other. But I don't think at the beginning of the season he's going to be saying these 5 guys are playing and nobody else.
Yeah, I agree with that. But Poku can be seen a bit as a placeholder for Chet. Like, okay, we put him in there, and eventually we put Chet into that spot.
Sure. Or even Chet's backup, or even, I mean, like the it's endless what we could do with him.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. You got any predictions you think we'll come out with our first win, or you think that's going to be?
Today's our first win. We're gonna make a statement with this win. It's going to be Shea 40 points. Dort's going to come out strong. It's going to look really good.
All right.
Josh Giddey will get his first triple-double tonight too as well, guys. We might as well throw all those predictions out there.
And it's going to be on the defensive end, right? We're talking about all these good things on the offensive end, but in the end, you don't outscore a team like the Nuggets, right? You have to find a way.
It's all defense. That's what we're so.
If they're lost, right, you have to disrupt. You can't give them time to figure things out.
That's it, man. You're standing on their throats. You got to keep on going. You know, like that's what we're going to be seeing tonight. We're going to see Coach D running this defense and really making other teams to stop and be like, oh, this is not good. This is not good. Oklahoma City's figuring this out this early in the season, because we've got some good big games coming up. And if we can prove that we can beat Denver, and then we can sit there and look at splitting with Minnesota, I mean, that's pretty big right there. I would say that's pretty a big situation that we're sitting at, is that, again, you're going to see people be like, oh, this is peaking too early, and we don't want to win this too many games, and da-da-da-da. But this is a different year, guys. This is a completely different year than we've ever seen before in the aspect of a young team coming out there and just trying to get some W's. And that's what we're going to see tonight. We're going to see all hustle. We're going to see great defense. And it's going to come back down to the last 5 minutes of the game, whether we can close out or if we have trouble doing that. But that's what makes it exciting, is because sometimes when a young team puts everything together and goes out there, things go exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. And it takes time, and you're going to see adjustment periods, but in the end, you're going to be grateful that you took the time to watch. And we're grateful that you guys took the time to listen or watch. We're just having some fun watching our favorite team play some ball. And you never know where it's going to lead, but we know in the end, like we saw in the past, some teams that seemed like they weren't going to fit together find ways to fit. And these guys, they seem like they fit a lot better than some of the past teams, and watching them grow together is what this is all about.
Absolutely.
So let's see it. Let's see Shea get a 40-point game and Giddey get a triple-double in the same time, and hopefully we're still hoping J-Dub is good and he can come back and play, because he has so much he can offer this team. And he's also, you can tell, learning a lot about himself. So it's the best thing for him to be out there, but we got to see him get to full strength before then. So these are the things we're hoping for, man. The season's young, one game in, but I feel like after getting kind of punched in the face at the beginning of the first game, like we turned inward, we showed what we were made of, and we were one possession away, one turnover that almost took place if it wasn't for a timeout from tying that game late in that fourth quarter. So here we are, man.
Beast mode, man.
Exactly. That's what we like about this team, bro. The fight.
That's it. You can do whatever you want and say whatever you want about this team, but you cannot deny the fight this team has. And that's what's so great, is it really just fits the Oklahoma way. Like it's out there daily grinding. If you think about, back in the Dust Bowl and when Oklahoma became a state, and it was all about fighting. It's all about surviving. It's all about the land run. It's all about this other stuff. And it's impressive to see how this team is going to really kind of wear that wear that crown of the toughest dogs in the NBA. And I love that, man, because it shows you what type of team you have if you're willing to have 10, 15 guys out there that are willing to do whatever it takes to get a W. And that's what we got that's special.
For sure. And you, as fans, willing to do whatever it takes to see this team win. So we appreciate you, and we will be back on Monday. We got some basketball to talk about again.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. We will see you then.